welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. Thanks so much for being with us here on the program today. This is another one of those special editions of Tell Me Your Story where we are going to be focusing on a new book that is out by Sacred Stories Publishing. SacredStoriesPublishing.com is the website, and the book is entitled Mayhem to Miracles, and we have one of its authors, one of the contributors of stories to this particular compendium. That is number 3. The book is number 3 in a series, starting with Chaos to Clarity, where we focused on 12 of the authors who contributed stories to that compendium, and then then came along Crappy to Happy, and here we are with Mayhem to Miracles. And we are going to be talking this program with Eileen Bild. And I want to thank you for joining us again. This is not the first time you've been on Tell Me Your Story, but this is the first time for you to talk to us about your story as well as other areas of your life that you are doing to change the world as it pertains to Mayhem to Miracles. Thanks for joining us again.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me back.
You know, this particular book is very, very interesting because, again, it is nothing more than a volume 3 of a series of stories that are here to help to transform people's lives, to get them to realize, get people to realize that in spite of the fact that we are all the same when it comes to our emotions, it's our stories where we experience those same emotions that make us as individuals unique. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, most definitely.
And you have contributed to, is this the first, or have you contributed to all 3 of the books?
I contributed to Chaos to Clarity. I interviewed contributors to the last one, and then this one, I am both in it and I'm interviewing contributors.
Yeah. So you and I are sort of on the same side here in terms of featuring on our respective podcasts and videocasts and so forth, the respective authors thereof. I noticed when I made my choices for the various authors that I would like to interview, and it may have been 20 or 25 different authors, of which I probably will end up interviewing 12, which is fine. I know that the last 2 interviews that I have done dealt with stories regarding mothers and children. But let's talk about your particular story. Yours has to do with triumph through miracles. And I remember when you and I were on another program with Kat Canovas, she asked about if we believed in miracles. And, of course, I piped right in that, just by virtue of the fact that I am here and talking to you, I am a miracle. And I wasn't being boastful. It's because so many different things have transpired. The synchronicities of the universe have unfolded to where there I was with you and the 3 other women talking about this particular book, Mayhem to Miracles. So let's talk about that in terms of triumph through miracles and your story.
So something that I've learned in my own journey in life from the first story in Chaos to Clarity, and then what happened that allowed me to tell another story that really was a continuation of the first story. Things happen in our lives that I think are like nudges for us to awaken, to learn something about ourselves, to understand our connection with the universe. This story in Mayhem to Miracles, it was a wake-up call for me to realize that we have trauma in our lives in many different forms, but there's little miracles along the way that allow us to overcome those blocks and those events that occur that can take us down the rabbit hole, that can destroy our sense of well-being, that can cause us to wonder, why did this happen to me? And my story was I got bit while sleeping by a brown recluse, we believe a brown recluse spider, which can be deadly. So as in your case, I'm lucky to be alive because it could have poisoned me to the point that it could have killed me. But because I believe in homeopathic and doing things as naturally as possible, I dove into treating myself while I was going through the regular medical process and seeing my general practitioner, which it took 3 times for him to finally figure out that I had gone into an autoimmune issue. So prior to the spider bite, I had been working out, personal training. I was healthy. I was happy. I mean, everything was going beautifully in my life. And then this put a stop on everything, the brakes on being in that joyful space. And so it's been an uphill battle to try to get my body back into homeostasis and back to where I was before the spider bite. But along the way, I've learned a lot more about myself, my perseverance, the strength that I have to be able to overcome the symptoms and overcome what it caused. And even worse than just the autoimmune, I developed like brain compression. And so it interfered for a long time with my ability to concentrate and process. And it still happens a little bit these days. But I couldn't be in the sun for the first 2 years. We had to sell our boat after about a year or so, when we realized a year after those 2 years that I just couldn't be out on the water and out in the sun. I lost like 15, 20 pounds, got down to like 105 pounds. And it really took a lot of energy on my part and a lot of strength to push through those challenges.
And how are you today as we talk?
I am about probably 90% healed. I do have a all-natural supplement protocol. I do have to take one supplement that is a prescription, but other than that, I meditate, I eat healthy, I watch the different miracles of healing that occur, and I know when my body has taken that next step. And a lot of it is the mental focus. A lot of it is staying in a positive mindset and not being angry, not being upset, not being resentful of, this happening to me. And unfortunately, there's not much anybody else around me, doctors, my husband, can do, because it's all, if you look at me, I look normal, I look healthy, but the internal struggle of what my body's trying to do to heal, it's going through a lot of different stages. And there's times I could have insomnia. There's times that I have inflammation just on the right side. And so, I don't focus on complaining. I focus on what do I need to continue to do in order to heal and get back to where I was.
Now, I cannot relate directly to what you have been through, but I can relate directly, I'm sure, to what your husband went through. He didn't sign up to be a caregiver, but isn't that what he became? How did all of this affect him?
Good question. It's been difficult because he can't do anything. He knows, and we talk about it from time to time. And so when there's days, and it's not so much these days, but in the beginning, and it was just 5 years ago, in the beginning, he held space and just accepted that I would have to go lay down multiple times in a day if I could, or that I would have to have an ice pack on my head where the inflammation occurred and created severe migraines, and that he knew I would be out of it for possibly up to a week or longer, and that my ability to process information was diminished. And he practiced a lot of patience with communication with me, and doing whatever he felt that he could do that could help. At the same time, he nudged and pushed me to like get up and move and get up and do things. Mm-hmm. And so we have a video production business, and even from the very beginning, when my face was swollen and I was in the throes of a flare-up, I was out videotaping live bands and doing live music videos. I pushed through it, and I just took that inner strength and said, I'm not going to let this diminish my life and my livelihood. And, I can't give in. I can't give in to the spider. I can't give in to the autoimmune issue.
Has there been a time, and probably this may have happened early on, when he says, "I need a break. I gotta step away for a day or so. I'm running out of juice here."
It never got to that point because I kept functioning and I kept pushing to be productive. So I never codependent on him to take care of me. I did what I needed to do. And when I felt that I could work out again, we went to work out. And sometimes I would get a little dizzy, or I would have to take a nap when we got back. But he never had to really fully be a caretaker because I did not allow myself to get to that point.
Well, I would wonder, what would your response have been if he had come to you and said, "Look, I need to get away for a couple of days for myself and so forth, and re-energize, and I'll be back to help you out here, and I've got this whole list of people that are going to be here to support you and take care of you and do what you need, what you want, and so forth." How would you have responded to him in that regard, do you think?
Oh, I would have supported him 100%. Yeah, I totally would understand, because it's not easy for a caregiver. It's not easy for someone to help someone who looks and seems hopeless or helpless, and know that they're struggling and they're in pain and they have the inability to take care of themselves. Now, fortunately, I could still take care of myself, but there were, regular, normal, everyday activities that I could no longer participate in. And so we adapted and pivoted our way of living to support the healing process. And one of the things that's really big for us is to be outside in nature. And so we dove into trying to go camping. And you said earlier that you have a camper, and so do we. And so 2 years ago, we decided to start camping once a month for a week. And we've done that consistently for 2 years. And that, I believe, has helped me with the continued healing and strengthening of my immune system and my mental capacities.
We are talking with Eileen Bild, and she has contributed to the Mayhem to Miracles book that it's available through Sacred Stories Publishing, sacredstoriespublishing.com. We have a website for you to go to, folks, of Eileen's, so that you can continue to investigate the work that she is doing. And Eileen, tell me a little bit about this particular website that encourages people to basically move forward. Your life's work, in a manner of speaking, if I'm not mistaken, is all about helping people to transform their lives, is it not?
Absolutely, yes. And to give people a platform to share their voice, their passion, their dreams, to find that empowerment of the self, whether it's through singing, whether it's through a personal development, whether it's through a business that they want to grow. And during COVID, we actually got into Roku channel development, and we created Roku channels. And then we have Roku channel clients that we develop their channels and manage it. So what was birthed out of that is OTEL Universe, a universal voice. And it's all about, we're all together in our individual life journeys. And so the more that we can collaborate, the more that we can see each other as partners in life, and not just in relationship partnerships, but business partnerships, friendship partnerships, then the stronger that unit of one, that universal voice becomes. And it has been really amazing, and I'm going to say magical, in how it has really brought people together from all over the world, and it just keeps continuing to grow.
Well, first of all, when you go to the homepage, folks, it is oteluniverse.com. That's for Ordinary to Extraordinary Life Universe. OTEL Universe, it is a universal voice. You scroll down and you see just how beautiful she is and how tall he is. Trevor is her husband. That's a tall fellow there, let me tell you. He's a good-looking guy, too. And you, boy, if this is taken where you live, out on a deck where you live, man, what a great place to be.
Actually, it was taken in Oregon.
I will take it anyway, because you live on the planet, so there you go.
There you go.
We're talking to Eileen Bild, and I'm Richard Dugan, your host for Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are talking about the book, Mayhem to Miracles. And we're talking with Eileen Bild, and she is sharing with us her story as she has shared it in the latest edition of the Sacred Stories Publishing.com's series, third book in a series on helping people to transform their lives. And that's what we're all about here on the program. And with your production company, again, oteluniverse.com, what's the main philosophy, whether it's Roku channel development, whether it's production, the production company, whether it's the various elements of your Roku channels going from OTEL Universe, OTEL Music Video, OTEL Metal Jam, OTEL Talk, Knob TV, and Rebel TV? Is there a central philosophy that you, shall we say, create by?
Absolutely. I think we all have a voice in which we want to express, and whatever our passion is, whether it's music, whether it's the ability to share and transform people, whether it's art, there's always going to be a platform that we can express through. So the OTEL Universe, all these channels, give people a platform. The Knob TV stands for Knowledge, Notice, Observe, Become. It's a variety channel. So it's a different categories of different things. There's camping, there's vlogs, there's music, there's videos, people who are producers and they have documentaries or movies. It's just a great place to explore. And we give the indie musician a presence on TV. And we also have a radio show now that is presented on NBRN Online, which is one of our media partners. So we have a lot of various tools, I guess you could say, for people to be exposed to a greater audience through the platform that we have.
We're talking with Eileen Bild and the hoteluniverse.com website. That, of course, is an acronym for Ordinary to Extraordinary Life Universe. Hotel Universe, a universal voice. We're also talking about mayhem and miracles here on Tell Me Your Story. And you know, we're bringing you new paradigms for a new world. And that's part of, I think, what you are trying to do as well through your hoteluniverse.com and all of the various outlets therein. How do you know? What is the gauge? What are the analytics, I guess you could say too, that tell you that what you're doing is making a difference?
People tell us. They thank us. They share us with others. They bring us other people to get involved. They encourage us to collaborate with them. So when someone has a project, they'll ask us to be involved with them. If you look at the testimonials, it speaks for itself. If you look at the universal voice category, where we offer people the opportunity to submit what does a universal voice mean to them. It gives people the opportunity to share that inner feeling of, if they look at themselves in the universe, what does it mean to have a universal voice? And I think today it's even more important that we come together versus see ourselves as separate. And people want that.
Yeah. And so the companion question to that first question being, how do you know that you're making a difference? What kind of a difference do you think you are making? What kind of a difference do you know that you are making? What changes have you seen?
Great question. The key, I think, that I see in everybody's response to what we're doing is inspiring. And it inspires them and gives them a spark to step fully into whatever their passion is, to become a better version of themselves. I've seen people grow their business. I've seen people dive deeper into whatever their passion is. And, I've been told over and over again, you've inspired me in whatever it is that they felt that they might have been lacking in, or that they wanted to maybe go further into, but they didn't know how, or they didn't feel that they could. And so by being involved with what we've created, which is it's a global, universal family, community. Mm-hmm. And when people see other people as part of that, they want to be a part of that too. Mm. Because I've also been told, just going on the website, they can feel the positivity. That's the other thing. People feel more positive about life because now they're being engaged with their passion from the heart, not just because it makes money or whatever it might have been before, but now they're truly doing what they love. And one of our Roku clients, or two of our Roku clients, well, actually, I say all of them, all of our Roku clients started with just kind of doing their everyday life in business. But since getting involved with us, they now find reasons to grow and expand themselves and their business.
Mm. Well, I think that anytime we can see the results of our actions, it's gratifying. I have to say that the majority of how I know that change is coming, or change has come, or we're having an impact is more through my guests and what they are doing and how they spread the word about the interview and the conversation that we have. I don't have anything super concrete, to point to, other than the analytics on SoundCloud. that say that as of this broadcast, and we've only been posting since January 1 of 2018, we have over 650. We're getting close to 700 interviews up on the website. 48,500 listens. Now, that is from all of the various sources on the web that have the RSS feed, that wonderful little code that you embed so that your podcast is now part of SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, etc., etc. And that's the best gauge that I know of. Plus, I know that when we were at 34,000 in June of this year, 2021. Okay, 34,000. And we're now at 48. Okay, that is a 14,000 listen increase in just, what is that, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 months. And I look back at some of the analytics for the respective years, and I'm going, it wasn't even that much for some of these years. And it was when I expanded to 10 other, including iHeart and Amazon Music, and it just exploded. So it's hard sometimes for us to see the, shall we say, the fruits of our labor, you know, and that there's a change, there's a difference. It's like being a parent, and you have a child, and you don't know how this child's going to turn out. You hope they turn out well, and then, of course, as you get older, they get older. I look at my parents, married 65 years this year. My father's 90, my mother 87. And my sister, eldest sister, is, I think, 65. Second oldest, 63. I'm 61. My brother is in his he just turned 59. And I have two younger sisters, and they're in their 50s as well. And we have all accomplished what, we like to think of as pretty phenomenal things. And so my parents can look now and see the fruits of their labor. They can see, yeah, we've made a difference in the world. Look at the kids that we've brought into this world and what they are doing and what they're accomplishing. Do you feel that way, especially with hoteluniverse.com, but just in general with the work that you have been doing in spite of, or maybe because of, the spider bite?
Absolutely. It's almost humbling because I could have ended up in bed and not gotten out. But because I'm a fighter and I pushed through the beginning stages, I pushed through COVID shutting everything down. And we have a world-renowned company that is continuing to grow and expand. And between all the media partners we have, which have two of them are magazines, and we have columns on those magazines where we share content information for all the people involved in this community. A combination, it'll be probably around 6-7 million in a year of viewership between all the social media that are just the media partners. So for us, it's about the relationship, not so much the numbers, but the relationship. And in that relationship, you reach more people by collaborating with those other organizations and businesses that reach more people. So it's like that ripple effect versus that singularity of the metrics and the numbers. And I'm more of an advocate of quality versus quantity. Now, quantity is great. However, just in our experience since we started the business in 2014, the quality is what really sustains the business at the level and the quality that we have it. And people know us for who we are and for the integrity that we represent. And so people tell others about us. And then it just expands from there and the numbers grow. And those who participate and those who come into the circle, whether they're viewers or they're part of the intimate community, they want to be here and they want to be part of it. And so they stick around. It's not like they just hit like and that's it. They participate, and it's fulfilling for them and meaningful.
Mm-hmm. And it's also fulfilling and meaningful for you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we continue talking with Eileen Bild with HotelUniverse.com. HotelUniverse.com. It is a universal voice, and you can find that on the internet, as I just gave you the URL, if you will, the address. Hotel, O-T-E-L, for a very, I think is a very cool acronym, Ordinary to Extraordinary Life Universe.com. And you stay right where you are, folks. You're listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you for staying with us on the program. This is a program that is designed with you in mind. We hope that you are enjoying the guests that we bring your way. And if you do and you like the work that we're doing, you'd like to become a part of it, share in that energy, well, we could use your energy in the way of financial support. Send us whatever you can through PayPal. We use PayPal for your security as well as ours. When you go to PayPal to send, it's going to ask you for the email address. Well, put in richard@richarddugan.com, and we'll take any amount. I am thankful. Thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help as we continue to move forward here on Tell Me Your Story. We also hope that you will participate in the Decade of Perfect Vision, the 2020s, as we encourage people to go within, to spend that time in meditation and in that quiet, peaceful place, listening to that still, small voice. And Eileen, I want to ask you about that. What is your inner life like? Do you listen to and follow the promptings of that still small voice, or are you constantly going, oh, come on, no, I don't want to do, not that, no, I can't do that. And I have found that I've questioned that, and then I go ahead and I do that, and I realize that, if I hadn't done that, things would be a whole lot worse.
Absolutely, yeah. Meditation has been a huge part of my inner growth and inner person. And I have learned to quiet the mind and listen. And because I've done that is why I am where I am today. I didn't listen in the past, and it got me into trouble. So I've learned to trust my intuition, trust my instincts, and trust that little voice, which at times I do question. I do ask, okay, is this really, the direction that I need to take myself in? And I'm finding more and more to be in that quiet space and just allow and kind of follow those golden nuggets, those miracles, those nudges that are brought to me pretty much on a daily basis. And the longer that I can sit and be in the moment, the better that things unfold.
That's interesting, because I know that there were a lot of folks who have never had this experience. And I remember back in the early 80s, I was going through one of these personal growth programs called LifeSpring. And they gave us this real long piece of white construction paper. It was a big, long rectangle, and a Sharpie. They said, we want you to write down a statement. So in cursive, of all things, I wrote, I will listen to, and then in big block letters, and follow the promptings of, and I refer to it as my friend. I will listen to and follow the promptings of my friend. And at first, it wasn't easy. I had one experience that I've shared many times on this program, bicycling back in Phoenix. The farm fields were 1 mile square farm fields. As I crossed this one intersection heading for the radio station, we referred to it as out in the South 40, because it kind of was way back then. It was just on the north side of the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks. and the train would go by every so often. Fortunately, not that often to where it interrupted our live shows. But I'm traveling along, and I get half a mile down this one road, and I'm getting this prompting saying, you need to make a left. Back there. We told, it's like we were telling you to make a left coming up to this intersection, make a left. And I'm going, why would I do that? That's silly. Because it'll take me out of my way. It'll take me through, extra time to get to work. I get half mile down that road, and I couldn't take it anymore. I turned around, and I went back to the intersection. I went, in this case now, it's a right turn. And then I made the left turn, and then the left turn, and then the right turn back on the road I was on originally. And darned if I know why. Other than, the only thing I could think of was, the still small voice was saying in the subtext, do you really trust me? I mean, are you really going to follow my leadings and so forth? Now, I want to ask you this question, and this is maybe out of your purview, and certainly feel free not to answer it. But the thought has come to me, especially in a conversation I had not too long ago, where we were talking about all of the different masks that we put on throughout our days. I know that you probably have programs, and you've probably talked about this on your program, about being authentic, all the time. And yet we still put those masks on. I mean, I would have to admit, I got a mask on now, as an interviewer, as a host of a program. But I'm also a curious individual. And I'm wondering the difference between those masks, or how we can, I don't know if the word is circumvent the mask, in terms of utilizing the still small voice to say, hey, you know what? I know I've got a mask on. How do I get around that? How do I get through it? How do I take it off so that I can really be my authentic self all the time? Is that something that's realistic, or do we need the masks? Are they important?
That's a great question. And if you still have my website up on that homepage,
I do.
There's a quote. So look on that homepage, and there's a quote that I like to say. And if you want to read it, feel free to read it.
I take it would be down below your picture?
There's a blue, there's a...
Oh, here it is. I see it. Yes, it's right here. And it says, and this is from you, this is your quote.
My quote.
Fear is only a mask in front of something greater to step into. So you're saying that the masks that we wear, that we put on, are nothing more than masks, shall we say, of fear.
Fear of being who we are. And the fear is also part of not feeling worthy, not feeling strong, and not feeling stupid. And that all comes from the past of what someone might have said of who you should be, or why they don't feel that you can be who you are. And I actually have a master's in transpersonal psychology. So this subject is very dear to my heart. And identifying, the self in that authenticity. And if a person is able to be authentic, no matter where they are in life, whether in this case, we're talking on a talk show, whether we're out and we're in a business meeting, no matter where we are, if we can be authentically ourselves, we don't have any anything that's causing us to feel anything different than who we are. So basically, you're in your truth, and you have the ability to speak and have a voice in what you want to say, to express your feelings, to have boundaries with people, to be able to say no and be able to say yes without guilt and without shame, without resentment. So when someone can be in, and I believe it is possible, because I believe I am authentically myself everywhere and everything, and in everything I do. And I have had people say, you are authentic. And part of that is because I have spent my whole adult life grooming myself and undoing the influence that prevented me from being authentic. And my first story, I healed from fibromyalgia. This story, I'm healing from a spider bite. And through both of those healings, I've had to discover what makes me strong. Where's my strength and my authenticity? And I had to discover a voice. I had to discover my self-empowerment. And when someone can stand completely 100% in their authenticity, there is no question in that voice we hear or that nudge we get, because we know we are in total alignment.
I'm sorry, go ahead and continue.
Okay.
I beg your pardon.
Okay. Well, I'm just sharing that in my own experience. It is possible to be totally authentic. And I think in order to be in that space, it's to understand, well, who is that authentic person? And one of the things that I've discovered as part of my coaching practice is people do not develop that autonomy stage when we're in that those younger years. And so we spend our adult life trying to be that person, to be heard, to feel valued, to be understood. And when we let go of who we have become, that's not our authentic self, then we can, as an adult, step fully into having that voice and help people understand who this authentic person is. And when we feel heard, valued, understood, then there's no reason to be anybody other than that person. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. I have to say that I love play acting. I love doing voices and things like that, and just being silly and trying to be funny and make cute little comments, whether it's on this program or others that I'm a part of, or I'm talking with friends and family or this or that or the other thing. And that's just part of my personality, yes. And then I wonder sometimes if that isn't part of, again, another one of those masks. But there is a certain element, I'm going to say, a certain element of, I don't know, maybe it's sadness from the standpoint that, oh man, I've been hiding not only from others, but even from myself. I need to change that. Any suggestions on how one can start to do that, can make that shift through the masks of fear to that something extraordinary?
Good question. There's a lot of things that can be done, but the first step of being able to step beyond those masks and that sadness is to release that sadness and to honor and respect who you had been, because you didn't know any different. You didn't know how to be anything other than who you are and who you have become. If you want to be different and you want to change and you feel you're not being authentic, it's to start with baby steps to determine, well, what is most important for me to have a voice in that authenticity. And then to work in practicing, just like you said, you like to act. And so bring that into reality as your authentic self. And if you're trying to express yourself in a way that doesn't feel authentic, then you're still not stepping into that authenticity. And, you'll know, this is me, this is who I am. And you don't have to make any excuses for it. It's just to be that person. Now, there might be people around you that'll question that or try to attack it because you're not being the person they want you to be, because who they want you to be is going to satisfy them, because who you really are might be threatening, or they may see themselves in it and they don't know how to be that. So then they don't want you to be your authentic self. So I guess my best words of advice or words of wisdom today would be to start small, start with one thing, and practice being authentically that part of yourself. And when it's received in a way that you can see that whether they like it or not, you still are strong and empowered in being that person or that part of that person.
We're talking with Eileen Bild. She is the author of a story that is in the Mayhem to Miracles compendium. I like to use that word. It's a fun word to use. A collection of stories written by 30 different authors, and she is one of those 30, called Mayhem to Miracles, available through not only Amazon and the other fine outlets, but also through sacredstoriespublishing.com. Eileen has a website along with her husband, Trevor, and it is hoteluniverse.com. We will be linked to that website with this interview, and we also encourage you to get a copy of Mayhem to Miracles as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and Eileen Bild is my guest. Eileen, this is fascinating to me, especially when I think about what I have thought about for a number of years. I've never really pursued it in terms of like owning my own radio station. But I know that if I did, it would be a radio station of news, talk, and information. But it would not, I would absolutely abhor and sell it immediately if it became an echo chamber. I would want information from as many different perspectives as I could get. It is not... And this is something that I say throughout my programs when I share my perspectives, my philosophy, my beliefs. They're mine. I am not putting them on anyone. They are exclusively mine. If you like them, great. But I'm not saying I'm right. I'm right for me, okay? I'm not right for Eileen, but I'm right for, and I'm not right for Trevor, but I am right for me. But basically... it would be that it is not my job to steer you in a particular direction. That is not what that's why they call it broadcasting. Has nothing to do with dames or women, okay, guys. Broad as to expansive casting. And that's been my philosophy throughout my life. And unfortunately, back in the early 80s, Ronald Reagan deregulated the Federal Communications Commission and did away with what's called the Fairness Doctrine, which basically, some people would say, unfairly imposed regulations that forced broadcasters to deal with an issue from as many perspectives as possible. But what he did was... and I'm not saying that it's his fault per se, but he kind of opened Pandora's box. It started the creation of echo chambers. And how does that help us as a people grow? How does that help? Everybody is... by the way, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, Eileen. Did you ever hear the quote from Abraham Lincoln? He said, do not believe anything you see on the internet. Okay? Now, folks, if you have to think about that, then you're too cerebral right now. Lincoln was in the 1800s, and the net didn't come around until the late 1900s, okay? Anyway, the internet... They used to say that in the mid-late 90s, that you don't believe everything you read on the internet. And that's true, even more so today because there are even more websites. But it's where you get your information. And I think that what you have to offer with hoteluniverse.com and others, the people that we've talked with on this program, especially in this series of Mayhem to Miracles, is just that. Now, some would say, well, yeah, no, you're all coming from the same perspective. No, we're not. And Eileen, would you support that statement that we are not?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But it goes back to the fact that we're all in this life journey together. We all are born, we have experiences, and then we die. And what I think people are challenged with today is they're not in their authentic mindset and self. And so they're easily influenced by the external, especially in the social media and the broadcasting industry. And so, because of the individualized experiences, people don't have that strength and that foundation of their true self and being able to discern the information that they're taking in to decide, is this good for me or is it not good for me? And, whatever your beliefs are, whatever my beliefs are, and the other people in this book, they're individualized. But I do believe we all have a higher desire to do good and to be a positive influence in the world. And so in my world, I always suggest to people to look at how it feels, whether it's something you're eating, something you're saying, something you're thinking. If it feels good, great, keep going. If it doesn't feel good, then take a step back, observe, why does it not feel good? Is it because of something going on inside you? Is it something going on outside of you? And then you have to decide and discern, do I want to get involved? Do I want to continue? Do I want to be a part of this? And what I have learned in my own experiences is that we are all uniquely different. And coming together with that uniqueness, we build an amazing, beautiful community of oneness. And when someone tries to interfere with that and try to create division or tries to impose their thinking on somebody else, it's not going to sustain itself with those who have a more positive intention.
Yeah. I will own periods of time in my life long ago where I might have quietly to myself, name called. Okay. Even to say, you idiot, you moron, and of course those always come out when we're driving. Yes, indeedy. I'll own that because that doesn't help. That energy does not help. And that's one of the things that I hear myself saying to the radio every so often when I hear that, or the TV. If I happen to be flipping through one of those echo chambers, how is that helping? How is that helping our situation? Seriously, I want to.
It doesn't help.
No, talk to us in that regard. About a philosophy that I have espoused and promote highly. Words have power.
Definitely. So you want me to share my
Please.
Insights on
Yes.
that? So that's actually the foundation of my core thinking blueprint method. And I'm all about core thinking. Everything is energy. Everything has a power to it that impacts others, including ourselves, in some way, shape, or form. Even if we think something, you're putting that towards whatever it's going to, whether it's a person, an experience. And one of the things that I'll share with everybody to take note of, when you enter an intersection, when you're driving, that is a energy like portal, I'd like to say. Because think about when people are going through intersections, it's collecting the thoughts and the energy of everybody going through. So at an intersection, it collects things. So if you think about it, majority of accidents happen where?
In the intersections.
At an intersection. So I had an example years ago. I had an experience years ago where I was at an intersection, took a left and went kind of up a little hill. And apparently there was a big SUV that was going down the hill. And I had one of those surreal moments where I heard this screech. I looked in my rearview mirror and in slow motion, I saw it flip 3 times. And it was very slow motion. And that's the point where I realized Intersections are a point of reference for energy to collect and cause chaos. Now, take that on a broader scale. Where does energy collect when it comes to broadcasting, social media?
Well, that's a very good question. I do not. It's probably real obvious, but I don't think I know. What's the answer?
Well, okay. So my answer to that is when someone posts something. Let's just take social media. Mm-hmm. When someone posts an article or a video, you get comments under that, and then comments under those, and then comments under those. So you have this trail of energy, of emotions, of people's reactions and responses to whatever has been posted. And so by the end of this trail of comments, you're either going to be angry or resentful or sad. Very rarely in the general public social media, especially in the news area, will you be able to leave a post feeling happy? So then what happens? So then you take that to your next activity and your next experience. So now you've got this energy that's either on the surface or percolating. And when you have an interaction with someone, you're going to be bringing that to that experience. So where you may not normally attack or respond in a negative way, because you've been engaged over and over and over again in all these negative experiences, now it's become a part of you and it's not your authentic self. So practicing the ability to observe and not emotionally get caught up in all the social media when you're listening to a broadcast, when you're watching a video, to see it as it's a movie. You know, when you go into a movie, you don't attach to the movie. When you leave a movie, you know you're leaving that movie behind. You may talk about what you saw and how you felt, but then you go about your life. Mm-hmm. Social media has integrated itself into our being. And so it's really created a dichotomy of trying to be an authentic self, but influenced by external sources that encroaches on being your authentic self, which then doesn't allow you to have that voice, those boundaries, and those expressions. And so we're caught in this, we're caught in this whirlwind of how can I be in this and not be impacted and affected by it. And it's all related to energy and our thoughts.
Wow. Hadn't really put it in that context. I do know that, and I know you're on LinkedIn as well as I, which I think actually is how we met. But I used to scroll through the stories on the homepage, and I'd come across some that I just didn't think should be posted on LinkedIn. Just didn't seem like they were appropriate. So I would report them first. At first, I would report them. And 1 out of 5 would get pulled or reprimanded or something. And the others, no, I'm sorry, but this doesn't violate our policy. And then I saw some posts from people who said, please stop posting things that have nothing to do with the purposes for which LinkedIn was created. This is not a political forum. This is not a forum for issues and so on and so on and so on. This is to support people in their entrepreneurial ventures, even to the extent of what we're talking about here in terms of helping people to transform their lives. That, to me, is appropriate for LinkedIn, because isn't that what you're trying to do through your entrepreneurial efforts, is to change your life and the lives of people around you by what it is that you are providing, product or service, you know? And then I got to the point where I said, you know what? Why am I even wasting my time and my energy? I'm not going to drop off of LinkedIn. No. I will just unfollow this person and it's done. And then this kind of stuff won't come up from this person again. And so what if my number of contacts goes down by 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 100? So what? It's not about how many. It's like what you said earlier. It's not about the numbers. It's about the community, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you practice stepping away from whatever causes um, sadness or anger or frustration, and you align yourself with what feels good, it does change your world, and it makes it more fulfilling and happier and more joyful, which actually can expand your new world better and faster, because negative energy pulls you down.
Yeah.
And it really destroys the whole sense of self and connection.
This conversation that we've been having here, I've really, really enjoyed, and I thank you so much for giving us so much time as we are talking with Eileen Bild here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you so much for being with us here on Tell Me Your Story, where we are giving you new paradigms for a new world. And we're here talking with Eileen Bild, and Eileen, of course, has been on the program before. And one of the things we do this, Eileen, we ask our guests 3 questions at the end of the program. You may have touched upon them a little during the program, but I like to ask them directly. I'm doing that in a monotone kind of way because it's like I say this every frickin' weekend. It's like, oh my God, is he going to do that again? And I do try to find new ways of saying the stuff that I say. I really do. By telling people about when they can hear the program, and they can hear the program on this fine station on Sundays in the morning and the evening at 7. All right, you figure the AM and PM 7. All right, Monday early morning 1 a.m. early morning. And then a little later in the morning on a Wednesday, 9 a.m. That's when you're having your coffee, sitting down, and enjoying that special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We are podcasting, as does Eileen, I'm sure, all over the place. SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, blah, 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 blah. Trying to change the words. We're also on YouTube, and you can go to YouTube, Tell Me Your Story, Richard Dugan, and you can watch these interviews. And I encourage you to go to her website, Eileen's website, Eileen and Trevor's website, which is OTEL, O-T-E-L, Universe, oteluniverse.com. And find out what she's all about. Maybe get involved in some fashion. I think that she and I are going to have a conversation about all of this because it sounds like something I should get my dip my pinky into to see what it's all about.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, hey, I'm almost all in as soon as I found out a little bit more. But I like what you have. I love what you have to offer to both the participants, the programmers, the hosts, and so forth, as well as to the viewers. And also, we encourage you to take time to participate in the Decade of Perfect Vision. Go within, spend time listening to that still small voice. Please, don't just listen, follow. It's okay. I mean, if you have trepidation, go back and say, hey, I'm real scared about this advice. Give me some more, ease my mind. And your still small voice will do just that. And just sit in that quiet space. I love the phrase, go to your happy place and enjoy yourself. And then if you'd like to support what we're doing financially, we would greatly appreciate that through PayPal. When you go to send, put in my email address, richard@richarddugan.com. It'll come straight to us, and it will be used to support this program. And we thank you for doing that, if you have and when you do. And with that, Eileen, we, of course, have asked you this question at least, twice, 3 times maybe. So here comes the next time. Who is Eileen Bild?
She is a entrepreneur who leads by example and inspires others to step fully into their authentic self.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you're doing now?
To make a difference in the world.
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
To be a guiding light to show the people, to be a guiding light to show people the way.
Well, you've shown us the way through an hour program, and we thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to have the chance to talk with you again. And I know that we will be talking again, not only in this context of Tell Me Your Story down the road, but also in the context of other interviews that you and I will be a part of, I'm sure, as we are interviewing the other contributors to. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, of the 4 people who are interviewing the authors of Mayhem to Miracles, I'm the only one who has not contributed a story. You and the 2 other gals have, if I'm correct on that. So I guess I better get on the stick and write something, huh?
It sounds like that's probably should be in your plans.
I will put that on my to-do list. Not my bucket list, my to-do list.
To-do list, yeah.
Eileen, thank you again for joining us. And thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to love.